Welcome to my video about my N-gauge train layout. I'd like to show you the progress that has been made in the last year of which I've worked on this layout. I chose N-gauge because you could get the most track into a given area. The area of this layout is 5.5 feet wide by 11 feet long. It is a DC layout, although there are provisions to go DCC at some point in the future. But for right now, I have to rely on my panel to control the power, which I can route to up to 3 trains. Here's a view of the wiring on the back side of the panel to give you an idea why people do recommend that you go right to DCC when building a layout these days. The track is Kato track, which I'm fairly happy with, although there were several problems and a few bugs which had to be worked out while laying the track. As you can see by the equipment, this is a Milwaukee Road model. The setting is 1963, and I've tried to maintain that not only with the trains and the cars, but also the buildings and the vehicles. The large mountain contains a 2 1/4 helix. I installed the helix not only so I could go in at a high elevation and have the train come out at a lower elevation, but also it eats up even the longest of trains and gives the illusion of a much longer tunnel than what you expect to see just by looking at the size of the mountain. This project is far from done, although I felt I was far enough to make this video. Let's look at a few sections that have been completed. First off is my trailer park. These models were made by a company called Newcomp, which is now out of business. And I could see why. These models were terrible. The pieces didn't fit. There had to be sawing and filing to get things to go together, and there was a lot of warped pieces which were almost impossible to flatten out. But I muddled through it and came up with what I think is a pretty good looking scene. I will be adding people and other fine details as time goes on. Another section of the layout which is fairly completed is the coal mine, which goes into the side of the smaller mountain on the layout. This provides lots of switching opportunities for you when using the layout. The most recent addition has been the river, which I used magic water to pour. At the headwaters of the river is a waterfall. Trains can either go by it or come out of the tunnel, which is at the base of the waterfall. The freight yard is almost complete. I have a Santa Fe style station, some service buildings for both locomotives and freight cars. And then we move into town. It's a small town. I didn't want to have to put a lot into a lot of buildings. Where the blue is, that will be roadway at some point. The town probably needs the most work of anything on the layout at this point. The mountains are made of chicken wire with cardboard supporting the wire. On top of that, plaster cloth was applied, and then a coating of Sculptamold, which gave the final texture and top coat. The rocks have been made using Woodland Scenic molds. What was interesting is the waterfall itself was made not from a Woodland Scenic product or other modeling company, but it's just DAP sealant, crystal clear, laid out on wax paper and then manipulated to look like falling water and set to dry. Afterwards, you peel it off the wax paper and apply it right to your scenery. Well, this has been my first attempt at videotaping my layout, or much of anything for that matter. If you made it this far, I thank you, and I hope you enjoyed it. As progress goes on, I'll probably make another video in the future. Again, thank you for watching.